don't have to, it's all good. Okay. Tēnā koutou katoa. No murahiku rawa ko airana o kutupuna, no te whanganui atara aho, ko ahu mairangi te maunga, ko waikanai te awa, ko Ruth tōku ingoa. So I almost failed School Cert Māori, School Cert, I'm old, and I figured if Preston can do this today, then I'll do it anyway. So part of what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of riffing off what I've been inspired by over the last 2 days, and another one was Laura Bell's sort of feel the fear and do it anyway. So back to fifth form, which was an olden days thing in New Zealand. I was a fairly good student. I was completely out of my depth. I had to take Māori language with the bilingual kids. So they'd had Māori full immersion from early childhood, and here I was, this fairly, protected, privileged Pākehā chick who thought I could rock up and do the things. Not so much. It was hard. I had a very generous aunt who told me to build a bridge and get over it, so I did. With the support of some amazing teachers, mentors, family, some tools, some practice, a whole lot of practice. It was pretty bad, but I got a C, which was what do they call it these days? Achieved. So that was kind of freaky. I embraced the concept from there on in that you can feel the fear, do it anyway, and minimum viable school cert is a thing, and it's okay. My career path has been fairly non-linear. It includes things like fishmonger, which is great, and also you fast forward a few, not quite decades, but a few years, and I find myself the CEO of this thing that's in technology, recruitment, people, humans. I've done some export stuff. I've managed an organic supermarket. I've tried to learn yoga, but I just don't have time. But I kind of count myself really privileged that with all these squiggles, with all this scary stuff that is being thrust upon us, I've somehow managed to fake it till I make it, pronounce the macrons occasionally correctly, and suddenly I'm paid to do what I love to do, and I can keep myself in the avocado habit that I'd like to become accustomed. So it's pretty awesome. I'm going to throw some buzzwords at you because it's a tech conference and I'm not techie, so just pretending. So stand by. So there's a huge amount of fear-mongering out there about the future, and we're all wearing it. Well, I'm not wearing my t-shirt, but the future's here, right? We are the future. It's the future. But it's also kind of scary because the robots are coming and they're going to take away our jobs. Automation is a thing. And I'm actually speaking here from the perspective of somebody coming out of the schooling system and wondering how they can possibly get into this future. One of the challenges we've got is that the robots, automation stuff, you tech people know about that thing, they're actually taking a lot of the lower skilled jobs, the jobs that were traditionally really good for work experience. A lot of the retail jobs, once upon a time you could be a checkout person. Hello, now we have robots to do that. We have automated things. So that kind of thing is really challenging. There's actually less and less opportunity for young people. The CVs I see, and I see thousands, the number of people coming through our schooling system without the opportunity to have earned any money, worked in any way, shape or form, and understand sort of the value of how that works, it's getting fewer and fewer. And while Bitcoin is going to change all the things, it hasn't yet. And those avocados / shelter food stuff, it still kind of costs money. So I just, for that little digital dopamine addiction device in your pockets, I'm doing linky things because I'm really techie with the QR people. So this is a really funky video that I got all excited about when I found it because, it's okay because the creative knowledge economy, it's all right because the robots can't do things that, they can only do things that are routine and can be automated. It's all right. They'll never be able to do things like pattern recognition and all that kind of stuff. This is 2016. Last week I saw this video with Kyla Colbin, who's the Singularity U NZ person. She's freaking awesome. And she was talking about how, robots can recognise patterns now. And of course they're starting with cat faces, but it won't be long. So in 2016, which was not that long ago, someone said, no, the robots will never pattern recognition. 1 year later, here we are. So this exponential stuff is kind of freaking me out just a bit. A little bit too much, so I'm just going to give you the anti-singularity link as well. One of the things that I find in a lot of conversations, particularly with students coming through, is about technology. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And so I think that's another thing that we're trying to inject in terms of people who are building the things, shaping our future. Just a little bit of a, shall we question this exponential growth thing? So there you go. Hey, I'm moving pretty quick through the slides. I haven't actually timed this talk, so we might get to hang out at the end. It's all good. So our last speakers were extremely non-linear, and I love that stuff. So non-linear in terms of careers, in terms of talks. Please excuse the tangents. I'll try and weave it all together at the end. This is non-linear careers for me is gig economy, buzzword alert. Also trying to prove that it's not just me who's had a career path that includes fishmonger, CEO type job titles, and I might throw in some data, but I'm not great at data. So here's a scary thought. We are the most highly educated workforce in history. We have access to the most amount of information ever, however, a tertiary qualification used to be your ticket to a job for life. You were pretty much sorted. When my mother was the first in her family, first in a generation to go to university, and she was just made, like the whole entire generations above her were absolutely stoked because she was sorted. And she was. So my mother is hopefully maybe going to retire next year. We can't quite persuade her. She'll be 70 next year from being a teacher for her entire life. That is phenomenal. I would challenge any of us to think that we might be doing the same thing for, I think the average at the moment is about 18 months. Bring it on. So the squiggles. This is my squiggle reference. If you haven't seen Claudia Batten's squiggly line talk, it's pretty frickin' awesome. A couple of things I'm going to talk about here in terms of the non-linear gig economy career path is the core skills that we all of us need to navigate this thing. Basically, the old rules are not working already, and opportunity and luck and privilege and who you know, still actually those old rules, they still apply. But there are some skills that we can develop. Claudia says it way better than me. Essentially, what's missing from the curriculum, which is possibly another outdated concept, momentum, intuition, deliberate discomfort, and I love the bit about vomit moments. So that was me when I was just about to do my mihi to you all. So that's what's missing. Kids these days are not getting the opportunity to do all those things as they come through our industrial age education system. Okay, this is a lot about what's wrong. Don't worry, I've got some good stuff coming. However, I'm going to do a little deviation in terms of a definition. The abstract with all the buzzwords included the pipeline problem, and I have got the horrendous air quotes there. So, myth busting a little bit, but first a definition. There's a little bit of a noise in the world that we have a tech talent shortage in New Zealand. I'm sure this applies in other countries too. We've all heard that there may be, I think we're up to 1 million or so cybersecurity vacancies worldwide. Might be 10 million next week, not quite sure. So who's going to train the machines for the machine learning, for the chatbot, for the AI on the self-driving car with the cats? I don't know. Anyway, pipeline, there's no emoji for pipelines, except there's a pipe, but I didn't want to endorse the tobacco industry, so hence the river. So my pipeline above, the leaky pipeline is a concept that applies to the people that we want to come through this pipe, which is very linear, to come into work. The people are falling out of the school system, the people that we want, which includes all the 10% amazing unicorn top developers that everybody wants to hire, but also minorities who are not well represented in terms of the tech industry that actually, good on it, wants a bit more of different thinking in it. So my river analogy is also apt. So we actually even have clouds in my analogy, and then we have raindrops, and then we have streams and rivers, and we're going forth to the digital ocean. But the evaporation, possibly global warming, not quite sure. Anyway, so the leaks in the pipeline, the water that is not coming to the ocean of the tech industry, the people who are falling out before they get there, or once they get there, that we're not retaining them. Where are all these amazing, talented humans going? Just on the minority thing, in New Zealand we talk a lot about women in tech. I've got a little bit of data. There are currently in New Zealand about 20% of our tech industry workers, air quotes, so careful what you measure, 20% women, right? In the engineering and computer science schools that I work with throughout New Zealand, the enrolment numbers of women in engineering and computer science is 17% and dropping. This is the leaky pipeline. We have a problem. This has given rise to some amazing initiatives in terms of getting more people in general, but also especially girls, into STEM/STEAM. So there's a huge number of initiatives. I'm going to name check. We've got OMG Tech. We've got Code Club Aotearoa doing awesome things. In Auckland, we've got She Sharp. Refactor, there's a lot more, so no offence if I've missed some. The other area in New Zealand that we talk about being underrepresented is Māori and Pacifica. So these are the leaky raindrops that are falling out of the pipeline river. So, definition over. My challenge to this leaky pipeline analogy is what's the point in fixing it if it leads to a toxic waste dump? So no offence, because I know that the Drupal community is all above average, but my challenge here is that there is some toxic behaviour in tech, and until we address that, we as a community have a responsibility not to actually bring our precious, new, innocent, energised, amazing people into it. So I actually try and focus more of my energy on the demand side. I'm shifting from my ecosystem to economic language as I build a bridge and help us get over this leaky pipeline problem. Talking about how the industry, the community, can actually be privileged enough to welcome newbies into it. Are we ready? Are we going to support them well? Are we going to train them well? Is it going to be actually, do we deserve to have our brightest, most amazing, future-thinking people come and work with us to help us build this future that they will inherit? So we had the robots with the taking over the entry-level opportunities. We've also got a very strong preference in tech, globally, nothing personal, to hire the top 10%, 5%, 1%. We all want the unicorns, right? In the old days of recruitment, which I've never actually worked in, but I'm just pretending, there was this purple squirrel thing. So this is the person with the extremely amazing 20 years of experience in this 2-year-old technology and managing all the things and all the skills and cheap, yay! Not so much. So that sort of analogy is very much a hunting model in terms of recruitment, and that is very much the other thing that I'm trying to disrupt. So what if we flipped recruitment or talent attraction or whatever to a farming model? So what if we can actually nurture and grow and develop our green shoots in a really nice way and link human-driven development is a really cool thing, and my friend Oren is amazing, and you should totally watch her talk. Okay, where am I? Totally lost my timing. Someone's going to tell me to shut up shortly. I'm good. So, my aunt in her Build a Bridge, Get Over It thing is, I'm going to kind of help us all get over the next thing, which is this one. So I alluded to this before about the value of the qualification these days. Once upon a time, it would be your ticket to a stable and amazing career. I have a wee confession. The last time I was on a stage, there were a few more people in the audience. It was last Wednesday. I did a little bit of a brave thing. I publicly called out the CEO of New Zealand's Tertiary Education Commission, who was talking about their $3 billion budget and what's wrong with tertiary education in New Zealand. and the need for consumers of education to demand that we change it. So this annoyed me just a little bit. So I was just going to repeat that anger that I felt, and my response was to talk about it, so I'll just talk about it again. The sky did not fall on my head when I suggested that the consumers of education, which is the students, are not actually in a position of power to demand that the TEC changes. They don't actually know what they don't know, and that if TEC knows what's wrong, perhaps they could lead us somewhere. So yeah, sorry, controversial, but over. So I'm not here to bash the education system. I think teachers are amazing, and I think that we should all stay in school for our entire lives, and that the opportunities to work with someone who is from a teaching pedagogical background is awesome. I don't know why there's an avocado next. I think that means that you once upon a time your degree would be a ticket to a mortgage and life was good, but now not so much. So yes, train of thought all over the show. The tools that industry can bridge between education and learning, earning, that's where I'm going with this. Looking at the opportunities to get the kids these days, the young people coming through education, to make stuff. Like, not to do the Arduino robot thing and the maze, and it doesn't actually matter. They can knit, they can paint something, they can do Lego. Making stuff seems to be one of those core things that will set us all up for an awesome life. The other thing the education system is great for is learning how to learn, because trust me, every day of our lives we're going to be doing that. The other thing it's really good for is meeting other humans who will also be useful in that future that we're building. I think that's what I talked about. Go the farming. Here's the one. This one is evidence. So this is an area that is my day job in terms of the people who are coming through our educational systems come out with this expectation that their A's or their whatever their grades might be, because that's what they've been coached. This is a good thing. Achievements is going to just amazingly land them a CEO job very, very soon. The lack of evidence that they have valuable stuff for industry is completely missing. So I do a huge amount of bridging and translating what the academics think is important versus what industry thinks is important. So in order to get there, and most of us are not actually mostly driven by money, and we're all in a very highly paid industry, so we're okay, but avocados, and solve this problem, which is basically what I'm trying to do for the people that are coming through. It's really about shortcutting that squiggly line I was talking about. Can we save some very expensive squiggles? Because the cost of education these days is not trivial. The cost of time, even if you go the whole self-taught MOOC online amazing micro-credential future stuff, the cost in time to navigate that without somebody to support you along the way is probably going to cost you a lot in terms of money as well. All right. So, building some bridges for education. It's already happening. I mentioned the nano degrees, the MOOCs, the micro-credentials. Some of the most amazing people coming into our industry have been self-taught. They've been very active in open source communities. They've been doing all the things, which is great, and that's probably the top 5 or 10%, and they were always going to be awesome. If we're going to grow the pie, grow the amount of talent coming into our industry, we actually have to focus on the 2/3, not the top 5%. They're fine. So where I'm trying to get is how can we increase the number and quality, so the quantity and quality of people coming into the industry and staying in the industry. So, yes. One of the reasons I was a little bit disappointed in the TEC attitude was that a year ago I drank the Kool-Aid at the Singularity U conference, and Sue Suckling, who was at the time the chair of NZQA, so our qualifications authority, did this amazing talk, which is quite long, which she said basically qualifications are dead, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I got all inspired. It's actually happening, and so not political at all. Change of governments didn't really matter, but it's totally here. So right now in New Zealand, they are piloting Udacity self-driving car qualification that you can do entirely online through Udacity, which is not in New Zealand, and you will, bingo, do not pass go, you'll get a New Zealand qualification. This is like mind-blowing for anyone who's come from the tertiary sector in New Zealand. The funding has, for the past gazillion years, been attached to very much bricks and mortar New Zealand old-school academic institutions. This is great. So yeah, Sue flags that, and then Sarah in this Radio New Zealand interview talks about it in way more detail. So I got super, super excited when I saw that. The other thing that is also not quite yet, but hopefully on the horizon, things like New Zealand's boot camp program, so the Inspiral Dev Academy, can potentially tap into this. So the actual useful things that are going to really accelerate people into industry are coming. Okay, I need to speed up. So I wanted to talk briefly, shout out, to cool stuff that's happening already in terms of being a bridge, and not just Summer of Tech and internships, although Sparks Interactive have got some amazing, scary, intelligent young people working with them this summer as interns, yay. Another shout out is for Catalyst. So the Catalyst Academy, if you don't know about it already, is actually taking it one step further in terms of bringing in high school students during the holidays and just immersing them in the open source. And they've been doing it for, I think it's 5 or 6 years now, and they're hiring them now. Now, not necessarily straight out of high school or straight out of the academy, but that grounding that they're getting during the holidays is setting them up for a real kickstart to their career. X equals doing awesome training things, yay! So, at all levels, the one-on-one, the enterprise, the high school, the tertiary, all the things. It's brilliant. We need some more. What have I got? 100% awesome. Oh, this is what's wrong with the old school education system. This is a really, really cool video from NIC School. They're based in India, and I was just like, yep, that's pretty much what's wrong with education. It's worth 6 minutes of your time. So I am speeding up because I've got a bit more content. So, wanting to talk about other things that, why people might be pulling younger or not necessarily young, I need to get away from the young thing. Newbies to tech are not necessarily of any age or gender or life path. We're getting a huge number of career switches coming in. Everything I say applies to newbies of any denomination. So my day job is the internship thing, and as well as that, anything that's to do with a cadetship or a graduate program or a academy or work experience or industry projects, all of these things are really, really helping. Just be that bridge between learning and earning on the demand side. So us as the industry, pulling people through. Okay, why would you do this? It makes good sense. The coolest organisations I know, the ones that the bright newbies want to work for, are doing this for the right reasons, which is not just, but it's all the bottom lines. It is more profitable, but it's also more rewarding for staff. The opportunity to mentor, to teach, to embed your own skills, to bring others through, we had high performance teams with McLaren yesterday as well. So hiring at all levels actually strengthens the team, and the ability to nurture, to develop other developers helps you embed your skills and accelerates them. And by the way, you might actually learn something from newbies. So this is a short moment of advice for people who might be new to the industry or looking to move into a new role. New Zealand is a village. We have 2 degrees of separation. Jobs are connected to people. Doesn't have to be coffee, but a casual conversation is by far the best way. Coming to conferences like this is a fantastic thing to accelerate your career. So the communication, the core skills that you need to get a job, it's not the ones and zeros anymore at all. So yeah, shake hands. There's a globe here. Oh yeah. This was my bit about Kaitiakitanga, so the kupu, the Maori word that I'm going to inject in here, thank you Preston. Kaitiakitanga is a concept of guardianship. So I just wanted to talk about the Maori, and actually very similar, the Chinese have got this multi-generational. Forget your personal Kanban board and your 2-week sprint and your 90-day plan and your annual KPIs. We are talking 100 or 1,000-year plan. So if we look at a multi-generational model for what success looks like, nurturing our young people because they are the future just makes sense. Okay. Pay your interns. This is a much longer conversation, and there's a blog post, because I'm going to also introduce the concept of privilege, which we all have. Not everyone can afford to volunteer. There are a number of dodgy schemes whereby students are paying for work experience, which is dodgy, immoral, and bad. So don't do that. So this is about the personal. What's in it for me? So why should I? No, it's not. It's what's in it for me. How can I navigate this whole future of work thing and get there in the end? Here we go. Thinking about the squiggly line for you as an individual as you navigate your career path. Attitude, communication skills, so the talkies and the beverages, and evidence, of your work is going to be the things that will get you your next job and get you appreciated in your community and your current role as well. Evidence of your skills, the things that employers tell me all the time, doesn't matter the role, it's awesomeness, it's adaptability, it's that stuff. If you can embrace that squiggly line of your career path, that is fantastic. If you have next generation people coming through our school systems, as I said before, anything they can do that will develop their making skills. They can make anything, art, music, Lego, spatial stuff, knitting stuff, software stuff if you have to. Doesn't matter. Critical thinking, initiative, that kind of those kind of skill sets will be great. And then we have fabulousness. If you want data on this stuff, check this out. Australia's got some good stuff. The Foundation for Young Australians do research about this gig economy and the core skills that are needed. In 1986, a school leaver would take 1 year to get a full-time job in their field. Last year, I think it was, the average is 4.7 years. So that when you leave learning and want to start earning in a full-time capacity, it's taking 4.7 years now. So that goes back to my point about the robots are coming. They're here. They're taking those lower skilled jobs. There's a shortage of entry-level opportunities. We actually have an abundance of people coming through that so-called leaky pipeline. Professional stuff. So you and your work capacity, why should you bring on a newbie? What's the benefit to you? It's a little bit touchy-feely, but I believe that developing other people can be career enhancing. Laura revealed that you have 17 hats in terms of being a developer. So some of the best organisations I know have one of the key things for their senior developers is actually nurturing and fostering juniors. That organisational culture pays off in dividends. The rock star / ninja / hero culture tends to be not a good thing for retention or work-life balance or all the things. Here's some tips for being a good teacher and mentor in the workplace. Katrina is also awesome. If you do this, here's some things. You could potentially make yourself redundant so that you can work on the more interesting stuff and have a minion doing the other stuff, and they will love it. This is good. You can build an amazing team that may be bigger, better, faster, and more awesome, and it's worth it. So trust me, much more evidence abounds. This is the slide that I won't have time for, but I'm more than happy to talk about it. I do workshops on this, which is Mentoring 101, how to mentor. Also includes things like if you're looking for a mentor. And the other bit on this slide, if I had time, which I don't, was I often get asked, what are the skills that they're not teaching in schools that are relevant for tech? Things like source control and front end is a thing. The things that are missing from the curriculum, there's a few of them. At the organisational level, here's my pitch for why hire newbies. Basically, they're a feature, not a bug. If you do it properly, you will get payback very quickly. The average time to value for a graduate in IT is 18 months. We have evidence that with an internship or two before they come onto the workforce, we can reduce that time to value significantly, and we can also increase loyalty and retention beyond the standard 12 to 18 months that people are usually sticking in jobs. Diversity is awesome. Not going to go into it, that's another talk. Hiring people not like me is a good thing. Another thing, neurodiversity, people not like me in terms of how they think and how they work. There you go, check that out. This is about inclusion, and I'm going very fast here, but there are some really awesome things that we can do to ensure that our industry is not the toxic waste dump that I portrayed. It's all about respect, but the coffee is about not everybody. This happens to be my drug of choice, but other people don't necessarily love it, and it was just a wee day's run away. Not everyone, including his new interns, drink coffee, so she couldn't find the tea bags on the first day, and it was a bit of a bummer. So that's just a joke about HTTP. This is a shout out for my friend Lauren, who's just started Ally Skills NZ, which is based on the Ally Skills workshops that Valerie Aurora does in the States. She's amazing. My message to us all here today is that we are in a position of privilege. We've had 2 days at this amazing conference, and the people who can't be here are actually the people that will be able to add value to our organisations and to our industry. So if you as an individual can reach out, each one, teach one, pull someone through, we can make a difference. Another kupu, another Maori word, we're nearly there, Manaakitanga. So this is a Maori concept of hospitality. If anyone's ever visited a marae, or if you enjoyed the pōwhiri that they had at the beginning of this, just if you can unpack a whole lot of the meaning and ritual behind that, the one I'm going to land on is the hongi, the pressing of noses. This is all to do with sharing breath. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? So once you've shared breath, you've got the empathy, the understanding, and you become part of the family, essentially. So if we can treat everyone in our industry with that respect, even newbies, even people not like us, there ain't no leaky pipeline problem no more. Ta-da! In summary, the robots are here. It's gonna be okay. These are the hieroglyphs that I have shared with you today. I'm a total newbie at emoji and Maori. Thanks for bearing with me. Webstock, this was where I got into emoji. That's an amazing talk. Webstock tickets just went on sale today. It's going to be amazing. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I have no idea how much time we've got left.
We've got 5 minutes. People want to ask questions. I'll just go and grab the microphone so I can pass it around.
Wow, there are people here.
Has anyone got any questions for us?
One of the things you mentioned, which I also think is very important, is work experience, any kind of work experience. But how much of that is due to government intervention? Have we in the past couple of 15 years, we have huge increase in minimum wage. Paper runners have to pay tax. Youth wages have been abolished. Do you think that has been detrimental?
So I'm only talking to the New Zealand context here. That's my experience. I think that we've had political. Thanks. I think that we've had some very business-focused policies for the past decade, and that has definitely made it harder for new people and unskilled people and people with no New Zealand work experience, in which I would include skilled migrants and international students, to get that first chance. The 0 hours contracts and the low and lower, there are still youth wages. Minimum wage is not living wage. There's a whole lot of reasons why it could be easier to go and flip hamburgers than actually persist and try and get a job in the career that you want. In terms of the work experience, there is support, not government bashing either. So in the tech industry in New Zealand, you can get support through Callaghan Innovation to offset some of the wages of your science and tech students, so tertiary, undergrad and postgrad, as long as they're doing research and development, which has a whole bunch of criteria and paperwork around it. The challenge is that sometimes the paperwork costs more than the time and the value that you get out of it, but there is certainly a lot of research and development projects that are being supported, definitely. Both, mostly harder.
Thank you, Ruth.
Cool, thanks everybody.